Pick up your phone, look at it, this small device that you touch hundreds of times a day, this silent companion that never leaves your side. Now, imagine Padre Pio sitting across from you, able to see what's hidden inside it. Not the apps, not the photos, no. What he would see is the state of your soul reflected in that object, and what he would see would make you tremble. Because Padre Pio possessed a terrible gift. He could see people's sins before they even opened their mouths. In the confessional, he already knew every transgression, every impure thought, every lie. And if he were alive today, if he could see what we do with our phones, he would weep. He would weep as he wept when he saw souls hurtling toward hell, completely unaware. This video is going to reveal something you probably don't want to hear. The sin that Padre Pio saw in his prophetic visions, the sin that infects 90% of the phones in the world, the sin that no one talks about because it's become so normal that we've forgotten it's even a sin at all. And before you think this doesn't apply to you, let me tell you something. This sin isn't just about what you think it is. It's not just about what you watch. It's about what you are becoming, because your phone isn't just a tool. It's a portal to your soul. And what enters through that portal shapes the person you are. Padre Pio understood this before the first cell phone even existed. How? Because God showed him the future, and what he saw deeply troubled him. The year is 1962. Padre Pio is sitting in his cell at the San Giovanni Rotondo convent. He's 75 years old. His stigmata are causing him more pain than ever. But tonight, it's not the physical pain that torments him. It's a vision he's just received. Brother Michael, his faithful assistant, entered the cell to bring him his supper. He found Padre Pio, his face bathed in tears, his hands trembling, muttering incomprehensible words. "Father, what have you seen?" Brother Michael asked. Padre Pio looked up. His gaze was that of a man who had gazed into the abyss. "I have seen the future," he said. "I have seen entire generations hypnotized by small, glowing mirrors. I have seen men and women spending their days staring at these mirrors, unable to tear themselves away. I have seen families gathered around a table, but no one is talking. All are staring at their mirrors. I have seen children grow up, never knowing the faces of their parents, because their parents are always looking at their mirrors." Brother Michael didn't understand. Glowing mirrors, it seemed absurd, but Padre Pio wasn't finished. "And the worst part is what I saw inside those mirrors," he continued. "Images of naked flesh, conversations of hate, lies presented as truth, demons disguised as angels of light. I saw the devil entering the homes of Christians through these mirrors. I saw souls being lost, marriages breaking apart, vocations extinguished, all because of these little mirrors that people will carry in their pockets like treasures." Brother Michael noted this vision in his journal, a journal that wasn't discovered until decades later, after his death. And when the monks read it, they understood. The glowing mirrors Padre Pio spoke of were smartphones. He had seen our time, he had seen what we would become. But that wasn't all, because Padre Pio's vision didn't stop at a simple description. He had seen the specific sin that would infect these devices, a sin so common, so banalized, that most people don't even recognize it as such. This sin isn't the one you think it is. You might be thinking of pornography. Yes, that's a grave sin, but Padre Pio saw something even more insidious. Something that affects 90% of phone users. Something you probably do every day without even thinking about it. The sin that Padre Pio saw is spiritual sloth. You might not know that word. The church has almost forgotten it. But it's one of the 7 deadly sins, and it may be the most dangerous of all. Sloth is spiritual apathy, but not the laziness you imagine. It's not just staying in bed on Sunday morning. No, sloth is much deeper. It's the refusal to seek God. It's the preference for distractions over prayer. It's the deliberate choice to flee the inner silence where God speaks to us. And the phone has become the perfect instrument of sloth. Think about it for a moment. When was the last time you had a moment of true silence? A moment when you had nothing to watch, nothing to listen to, nothing to read. A moment when you were alone with yourself and with God. I'll tell you what happens. As soon as the silence arrives, as soon as boredom sets in, you grab your phone, you scroll, you watch videos, you read comments, you check your notifications. You do anything except remain in the silence. And that is exactly what sloth is. The flight from silence, the flight from God, because God speaks in the silence. He speaks in those moments when there's nothing else. But if you fill every second of your life with the noise of your phone, you'll never hear him. Padre Pio knew this, and that's why he wept. Because he saw millions of sincere Christians, people who went to Mass, who prayed the Rosary, who went to confession regularly, but who had lost the ability to listen to God. Their phone had stolen the only space where God could speak to them. But sloth is only the beginning, because the phone opens the door to other sins that Padre Pio had also seen in his vision. The second sin is vainglory. Look at what people do on their phones. They take pictures of themselves. They edit them to look more beautiful, thinner, younger. They post them on networks where other people will admire them. They count the likes. They check the comments. They measure their worth by the number of people who find them attractive, interesting, enviable. Padre Pio called this the idolatry of oneself, because when you spend hours perfecting your image, seeking the approval of others, building an idealized version of yourself to show the world, you put yourself in the place of God. You tell the world that what matters isn't your soul, it's your appearance. You adore your own reflection in that glowing mirror. And the worst part is, this sin is contagious, because when you look at the perfect images of others, you start to compare yourself. You start to envy their lives. You start to feel inadequate. And envy, the fourth deadly sin, takes root in your heart. Padre Pio saw all of this. He saw young women falling into depression because they didn't look like the images on their phones. He saw adult men becoming slaves to their online image. He saw entire families trapped in a race for approval that could never be won. The third sin that Padre Pio saw on phones is anger. Have you noticed how easy it is to get angry online? The comments, the political debates, the conflicting opinions, everything seems designed to rile you up. And when you're riled up, you respond, you attack, you insult, you do things you would never do, face to face with a real person. Padre Pio saw Christians turning their phones into weapons of hate. He saw faithful people reciting the Rosary in the morning and spreading slander in the evening. He saw entire parishes torn apart by arguments that started in online discussion groups. Anger behind a screen seems less serious, but that's an illusion. Every hateful word you type on that glowing mirror hurts a real soul. And every hateful word you receive hurts you too, even if you think you can ignore it. But the most serious sin that Padre Pio saw on phones, the one that made him weep more than all the others, is the one that no one talks about. That sin is the theft of time. Think of all the hours you've spent on your phone, the hours spent scrolling aimlessly, the hours spent watching videos that you forgot the next day, the hours spent checking notifications. That didn't even matter. Now, think about what you could have done with that time. You could have prayed. You could have meditated on scripture. You could have talked to your spouse. You could have played with your kids. You could have visited someone who was sick. You could have called a friend who was suffering. You could have done something eternal instead of something fleeting. Padre Pio was obsessed with time. He said that every second was a gift from God and that we would have to account for every second at our judgment. Every minute wasted on futility is a minute stolen from eternity, and one day, when you stand before God, He will show you all those minutes. He will show you what you could have done, and you will weep. When Padre Pio saw the phones in his vision, he saw billions of hours sucked away each day. Billions of hours that humanity could have devoted to love, to prayer, to kindness. Billions of hours lost forever. And he wept. You might be wondering now if Padre Pio would have condemned phones, if he would have said to throw them away, to live as if they didn't exist. The answer is no, because Padre Pio was not an extremist. He understood that the world was changing. He understood that technology was part of life. What he condemned was not the tool itself, it was the way we use it. One day, a wealthy man came to see him for confession. This man owned one of the first televisions in the area. He wondered if it was a sin to watch it. Padre Pio asked him a simple question. Does this machine bring you closer to God, or does it pull you away from Him? The man thought about it. He admitted that he spent his evenings in front of the television, instead of praying with his family like he used to. He admitted that the programs he watched did not elevate his soul. He admitted that he had become addicted to the moving images. Padre Pio told him something important. The machine is not the problem. The problem is you. You have let the machine become your master instead of being its master. You have let the machine decide your schedule instead of deciding for yourself. You must take back control. Otherwise, this machine will lead you to hell as surely as any other vice. These words apply perfectly to the phones of today. The problem isn't the phone. The problem is us. We have let the phone become our master. We check our notifications before we even say good morning to our family. We scroll in bed instead of praying. We prefer virtual conversations to real conversations. We have reversed the order of priorities, and the devil smiles. Because that's exactly what he wanted. He can't force you to sin. He can only distract you. He can only occupy you with unimportant things so that you have no more time for the important things. He can only make you forget God. And the phone is his perfect instrument. Padre Pio once told a story to his brothers. He told them about a vision he had of hell. He had seen a huge room filled with demons working at tables. Each demon had a screen in front of him, and on that screen, he was watching a human. The demons weren't doing anything spectacular. They weren't possessing people. They weren't tormenting them. They were doing something much more subtle. They were sending them distractions. A notification here, an interesting video there, a comment that angered them, an image that aroused them, and the humans, like puppets, responded to every distraction. The demons laughed because they knew they didn't need to do more. They only needed to keep the humans distracted, occupied, away from the silence where God could speak to them. And so, these humans walked towards hell, believing they were free. This vision was recorded by several witnesses. It was written decades before the invention of smartphones. But when you read it today, you can't help but shiver, because it describes exactly what we are living through. You might feel like you're free when you use your phone, but are you really free? Can you put it down for an entire day without feeling anxiety? Can you ignore a notification? Can you resist the urge to check your social media? If the answer is no, then you are a slave. Not a slave to a demon you can see, a slave to a demon that hides behind a screen. A demon who asks for only one thing, your attention, because your attention is your time, and your time is your life, and your life is what you offer to God or to the devil. Padre Pio had a remedy for this sin, a remedy that was simple yet powerful, a remedy he taught to all his penitents, and one that works just as well today as it did 60 years ago. That remedy is a digital fast. Padre Pio practiced physical fasting his entire life. He barely ate. He offered his hunger to God as a sacrifice for sinners. And he understood that fasting was a powerful spiritual weapon. But he also taught another kind of fast, a fast of the senses, a fast of the eyes, a fast of the ears. He said we must protect our senses like treasures, because it's through them that both good and evil enter our souls. Today, this fast of the senses applies perfectly to our smartphones. Here's what Padre Pio would tell you to do. First, create sacred phone-free zones. Your bedroom should be one of these zones. The dinner table should be another. The church, obviously, but also certain times of the day. The first 15 minutes after you wake up, the last half hour before you go to sleep. These moments should belong to God and to you, not to your phone. Padre Pio would wake up every morning at 4 a.m. to pray. For hours, he was alone with God. No distractions, no noise, no excuses. And it was in this silence that he received the extraordinary graces that made him a saint. You don't have to wake up at 4 a.m., but you can offer God the first 15 minutes of your day, before you touch your phone, before you check your messages, before you look at the news. 15 minutes of silence, of prayer, of presence to God. Those 15 minutes will change your life, because it's in the silence that God speaks. It's in the silence that you can hear his voice. It's in the silence that you discover who you really are, beyond all the images you project on social media. Second, do a phone examination of conscience. Padre Pio recommended an examination of conscience every night, reviewing your day, identifying your sins, asking for forgiveness, making resolutions for the next day. Do the same thing with your phone. Look at your screen time. Look at the apps you use the most. Ask yourself honestly what each of these apps does to your soul. Does this app bring you closer to God, or does it take you further away? Does this app nurture virtues or vices? Does this app make you better or worse? Be brutal in your honesty, because your phone knows the truth. It knows exactly how much time you spend on each app. It knows what images you look at. It knows what sites you visit. And God knows it too. Third, replace wasted time with sacred time. Every time you're tempted to pick up your phone for no reason, do something else. Recite a Hail Mary. Read a verse from the Gospel. Think of someone you love and pray for them. Transform the habit of grabbing your phone into the habit of grasping the hand of God. Padre Pio always had his rosary in his hand. When he was waiting, he prayed. When he was walking, he prayed. When he had a free moment, he prayed. His life was a continuous prayer. You can do the same. Your phone can even help you with this. Download a rosary app. Download the Bible. Download Catholic podcasts. Use the devil's tools against him. Transform this glowing mirror into a window to heaven. Fourth, and this is perhaps the most important, go to confession. When was the last time you confessed the sins related to your phone, the hours wasted, the impure images, the mean comments, the lies on social media, the envy stirred up by other people's perfect lives? These sins are real. They don't disappear because they were committed behind a screen. They have wounded your soul, and they need to be forgiven. Go to confession. Bring your phone into your heart. Tell the priest everything you've done with that device. Hide nothing, minimize nothing, because God sees everything. And Padre Pio from heaven sees everything as well. I'm going to tell you the story of a man who applied this advice. His name was, let's call him Michael. He lived in Chicago. He worked in digital marketing. His phone was his life. Michael spent an average of 8 hours a day on his phone. He managed the social media for a large brand. He checked his phone more than 300 times a day. He slept with his phone on his nightstand. He looked at it as soon as he opened his eyes, and right up until he closed them. Michael considered himself Catholic. He went to Mass on Sundays. Well, when he wasn't too tired, when he didn't have a work emergency, when there wasn't a football game on TV. Let's just say he went to Mass. Maybe once a month. One day, Michael went on a spiritual retreat, not by choice. His wife had signed him up. Their marriage was in crisis. She spent all her time telling him that he was never truly present, even when he was physically there. She said he preferred his phone to her. Michael thought she was exaggerating. But during that retreat, something happened. The priest leading the retreat talked about Padre Pio. He recounted the vision of the glowing mirrors. He explained the sin of sloth. He described how phones were stealing our souls. And for the first time in his life, Michael really listened. That night, he did something he hadn't done in years. He turned off his phone completely, and he sat in silence. The first few minutes were terrifying. Michael didn't know what to do with his hands. He didn't know where to look. He felt an anxiety rising in him, like an addict in withdrawal. His heart was pounding. He wanted to turn his phone back on, just to check, just for a second, but he resisted. And after a half hour of this torture, something extraordinary happened. The silence began to speak. Michael began to hear thoughts he had never heard before, questions he had never asked, truths he had always fled from. He realized that he didn't know his wife anymore. They had been living together for 15 years, but he no longer knew who she really was. He had stopped asking her questions. He had stopped listening to her. He had stopped looking at her. Because he was always looking at his phone, he realized that he didn't know his children. His 12-year-old son was going through a difficult time, but Michael hadn't noticed anything. His 9-year-old daughter was struggling at school, but Mark didn't even know, because he was too busy staring at his phone to see what was happening right under his own roof. He realized he didn't even know himself anymore. He'd constructed this image of himself on social media, a successful man who traveled, who lived an exciting life. But that image wasn't him. It was a lie, and he'd spent so much time maintaining that lie that he'd forgotten who he really was. And above all, he realized he no longer knew God. He prayed sometimes, yes, automatic prayers recited quickly without conviction. But he hadn't really spoken to God in years. He hadn't really listened to God in years because he never had the time, because there was always a more urgent notification. That night, Mark wept. He wept like he hadn't wept since childhood. He wept over everything he'd lost, everything he'd ruined, all the hours he'd never get back. And in his tears, he heard a voice, not an audible voice, a voice in his heart, a voice that simply said, "It's not too late." The next day, Mark went to confession. A real confession, not the quick confessions he sometimes made, where he listed 3 or 4 vague sins and left in 2 minutes. No, a 2-hour confession, where he told everything, absolutely everything. The priest listened without interrupting. When Mark was finished, the priest placed a hand on his shoulder and said something he'd never forget. "My son, you've just freed yourself from slavery, but freedom is only the beginning. Now, you must fill the void. For if you don't fill that void with God, the devil will return with 7 demons, worse than the first." Mark took those words to heart. He changed his life, not overnight, not perfectly, but gradually, consistently, sincerely. He created his sacred spaces. No phone in the bedroom, no phone at the table, No phone during the hour after he wakes up and the hour before he goes to sleep. He did a digital examination of conscience. He deleted the apps that were harming him. He set time limits on the ones he kept. He disabled non-essential notifications. He replaced the lost time. Every morning he now prays for half an hour. He reads the gospel of the day. He meditates in silence. And in the evening he spends time with his family. Real time. Without a screen between them. He goes to confession regularly, at least once a month. And he always includes sins related to his phone in his confession, even if they seem insignificant. Today, 3 years later, Mark is a different man. His marriage has been saved. His children talk to him again. He's rediscovered his faith. He's rediscovered his joy. He's rediscovered himself. And it all started with one decision, the decision to turn off his phone and listen to the silence. But Mark is not the only one. There's also the story of Ashley, a 23-year-old woman who lived in Los Angeles. Ashley was what they call an influencer. She had thousands of followers on social media. She spent hours every day taking pictures of herself, choosing the best filters, writing captivating captions. Her life seemed perfect. At least, that's what her followers believed. In reality, Ashley was deeply unhappy. She suffered from chronic anxiety. She couldn't sleep without checking her notifications. She measured her worth by the number of likes she received. One day, when she received fewer comments than usual, she cried for hours. Ashley had grown up in a Catholic family. She had made her first communion, she had been confirmed, but somewhere along the way, she had abandoned her faith. Not consciously. It happened little by little. First, she stopped saying her evening prayers. Then she stopped going to Mass. Then she stopped thinking about God at all. Her phone had taken the place of God in her life. One day, Ashley stumbled upon a video of Padre Pio on the internet. The irony, the same instrument that had led her away from God, was now showing her the way back. In this video, a priest explained how Padre Pio could read souls, how he knew things that no one could have known, how he had converted hardened sinners with a single look. Ashley was fascinated. She watched another video, then another. Then she started reading about Padre Pio. She discovered his stigmata, his bilocations, his miracles. She discovered a world she had completely forgotten, the world of faith. That night, for the first time in years, Ashley prayed, an awkward, hesitant prayer. She didn't know how to talk to God anymore, but she tried. Padre Pio, if you can hear me, help me. I'm lost. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what matters anymore. Help me find my way. The next morning, something strange happened. Ashley woke up with the scent of roses in her room. She looked around to see where the smell was coming from. She didn't have any roses. She didn't have any rose-scented perfume. The smell was inexplicable. She searched on the internet, and she discovered that the scent of roses was a sign of Padre Pio's presence. It was his scent of holiness. Many people had smelled it after praying for his intercession. Ashley wept. She understood that Padre Pio had heard her, that he was sending her a sign that she wasn't alone. That day, she made a radical decision. She deleted all her social media accounts, all of them, in one fell swoop. Thousands of followers, years of work, all erased in a few clicks. Her friends thought she'd gone crazy, but Ashley knew she'd made the right choice, because she had finally understood something essential. These likes, these comments, these followers, none of it had any eternal value. On Judgment Day, God wouldn't ask her how many followers she had. He would ask her how much she had loved. Ashley started a new life, a simpler life, a life where her phone was no longer the center of everything. She started going back to Mass. She started praying again. She made a pilgrimage to San Giovanni Rotondo, where Padre Pio had lived. And there, in front of the saint's tomb, she smelled the scent of roses again, stronger than ever, like a father welcoming his child home. Today, Ashley lives a radically different life. She works in a Catholic orphanage. She uses her phone only for what's absolutely necessary. She spends her evenings in prayer instead of scrolling through social media. And she is happy, truly happy. Not the artificial happiness of likes and comments, the profound happiness of someone who has found their place in God's plan. These two stories, Marco's and Lucia's, show something important. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to regain control. It's never too late to return to God, but you must take the first step. Padre Pio often said something that I want to burn into your heart. He said, prayer is the key that opens the heart of God. Your phone can be a weapon of the devil, but it can also become an instrument of prayer. It all depends on how you use it. If you use your phone to escape silence, you are escaping God. If you use it to feed your vanity, you are worshipping an idol. If you use it to spread anger, you are serving the devil. But if you use it to pray, to read the Bible, to connect with a community of faith, then you transform the weapon of the devil into an instrument of salvation. The choice is yours. This story could be yours. Because you now have a choice to make. You can ignore everything you've just heard. You can tell yourself that it's not that serious. You can convince yourself that you are in control of your phone, even if deep down you know it's controlling you. Or you can do something. You can tonight turn off your phone an hour before sleeping. You can tomorrow morning pray before turning it back on. You can this week go to confession and talk about your relationship with this device. Small steps, but small steps toward freedom. Padre Pio said something I want to leave you with. He said, the devil can only enter through the doors you open to him. Close the doors, and he will be powerless. Your phone is a door. Not necessarily a door of evil, but a door. And that door is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The devil enters and exits as he pleases. It's time to regain control. It's time to decide what comes in and what goes out. It's time to close that door when it needs to be closed. If this video has touched you, if you feel that God is speaking to you through these words, then I have a request to make of you. Not for me, for you. For your soul. Click on that gold heart below, the super thanks. This isn't a donation, it's a commitment. It's you saying to God, yes, I want to change. Yes, I want to regain control of my life. Yes, I choose freedom over slavery. Every time you click that heart, you are making an act of faith. You are saying that the things of eternity are worth more than the distractions of the moment. You are joining the community of those who have decided to no longer be slaves to their phones. And now tell me in the comments, look at your phone. How many hours did you spend on it yesterday? Be honest. Write the number. And if that number makes you ashamed, then you know what you need to do. Padre Pio is watching you from heaven. He is praying for you. He is interceding for you. He wants you to be free. May Padre Pio protect you from digital enslavement. May the Virgin Mary help you find silence. And may God grant you the grace to choose eternity rather than the fleeting. Tonight, turn off your phone and listen to what God has to say to you.